to SK versus Fnatic, two teams that are tied at 1-1 after day 2. And we wanted to highlight the bot lanes of both sides since there is quite a lot to talk about. Let's start with Fnatic. They started off the season impressively versus Rogue, but yesterday they fell to Excel. And this man had 7 deaths, and he had one of those performances that we like to put in the Hilly Int category.
Listen, this man right here will win you the game 9 out of 10. He deserves like a 1 out of 10 times where he's like limit testing. But honestly, we've been talking about Hylissang and Upset being the best bot in the West. We're expecting great performances from them. Every time they go into the 2v2, we expect them to win that. But that level 1 that we just saw on the replay just did not work out for them. They looked so out of sync with each other.
Febiven, I know you put Upset in kind of your ideal Fnatic roster earlier on. How do you think this bot lane has been evolving over the time they've played together, and how do you feel they're playing right now?
Well, I think that obviously they are one of the most aggressive, if not the most aggressive bot lane, and then it all comes down to finding the balance. And I feel like they are having issues finding the balance, especially when you're playing champions like Draven, Nautilus. Like, you can do one wrong hook and you're gonna, you might get a kill for your team, or you might just look really bad and die, right? So it's like, I think that is the hardest thing for them, actually finding the balance between playing so aggressive and playing a little bit more safe.
When it comes to the ceiling we saw out of this Fnatic roster in spring and how good they were at times, is this something you afford them or you allow them in terms of that game yesterday?
I think this playstyle actually has to do a lot to do with just how they are as players, because I think it's a strategy for them. They play aggressive, so they put pressure on enemies to make mistakes, and I think they don't mind. For example, Hylissang, he doesn't care about dying, so he will, even if he thinks it looks bad, he's gonna try to hook in because the enemies will be scared and they will maybe react wrong. So that's like I think that's a lot of times what he tries to do.
Yeah, the trade-off,
yes.
right? Against this bot lane now we have Jezu and Treatz, and there were times where we were full of praise for this bot lane, and specifically also Treatz, who was even in the running for Spring MVP in 2021, right? Where are they now? Because I don't feel they've had the same impact so far.
So going back all the way to Spring 2021 that we talked about, we're like, oh, Jezu and Treatz look like such a promising bot lane, very aggressive, would take the 2 versus 2 every single time they could, but then Treatz is swapped into the jungle, and then right after that he goes back to bot lane with Jezu. I talked to Jezu as well. He was really excited to have his support back, but ever since they came back together, I just haven't necessarily seen the synergy. Last split only, we had so many level 2 and level 3 tower dives that went completely wrong, and it felt like the communication was just not clicking. Even this weekend on the Super Week, we also saw another 2v2 going down, and they ended up dying again. So all of this hype that we had in Spring 2021, I just want to see coming back, because so far it hasn't been the best.
I have one point about Hylissang. Obviously, I've scrimmed against this guy hundreds of times, and even when I was in the Fnatic Academy, we were scrimming them a lot. I was watching all their games, and whenever Hylissang would ever see an engage to go on me, if I would ever be out of position, he would just flash. He would force my flash and die, but then the next team fight, he would actually have his flash a little bit earlier, or he would have Hex flash, and then he would actually kill me. So it's like, this guy, when he was playing Alistar, flash combo on cooldown on my Orianna, like, I couldn't play.
Was it just about you, or was it just about, whoever the strongest person on the team was?
I would say I was the main carry, so they were like...
It was about the carry. And a little bit of like this guy.
You said this so long about Hylissang, where it's like the difference between him being the hero or the inter is his team, whether they follow or not.
Okay,
True. That's
a great way to look at it, I guess, if you're a support. But SK and Fnatic, they are already on stage, so let's get into it with medication.
Medication, the great caster name that is us. If you were to sell a medication, what medication would you sell?
Antihistamines.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
Because I've been buying so many of them recently that I wouldn't have to.
What about antihistamines, huh?
What's a Hurst?
Wait, it's hers. His and antihistamines and anti-hers-tamines. No. Okay, sure, that was that was awful.
Didn't get that one. That one was bad. Sometimes you hit, sometimes you miss. Medic normally hits, but that was a miss.
I often miss, let's be honest. We are getting into our third game of the day, SK versus Fnatic. And what a game it is likely to be.
Oh, I got it! Hers, histamines. Oh! I'm slow. Oh, the music
Yeah, it's much more groovy. Game 3 is the groovy music. I love it. Let's get into the draft though. SK on the blue side, Fnatic on the red. SK obviously beat BDS day 1, lost to Mad yesterday. Fnatic with the strong win they had against Rogue, and then they lost to XL. Both these teams at 1-1 so far. Draven, Gwen banned away. We have seen upset predominantly on the Draven so far here in Summer. Only played that champ.
Definitely has. Lucian Kalista taken away. So we've lost all the aggressive bots. You know what's still up though?
Zeri Yuumi.
Meow, meow. Is it going to be banned away? Is SK going to first pick it? Draven down, Lucian down, Kalista down. Bot lane fistfights over. But Cat with scaling open.
I mean, the thing is, do you leave Yuumi up and say, okay, we'll take Senna if you take Yuumi?
Depends on what you've got with the Senna, because the Senna can open up so many different champions that if you have a niche picks, then it could be great. With Twitch being banned and Zeri being banned, that leaves Ezreal. So they put them in a catch-22 where if you pick Yuumi, we pick Ezreal. And now what's your AD carry with Yuumi? You have nothing left. So they're just going to go for the Tom Kench, it looks like. Surely Senna is going to be the first pick. Ooh, GP.
Gangplank first, okay.
Wow, so I don't know if Fnatic would be wanting the Gangplank, but this is something T1 did today in their series against KT in the Telecom Wars. First pick Gangplank for Zeus, I believe. I don't know what he was playing against. I think it was Gnar. Maybe it was picked into it as a counter of some sorts, but they believe that the champ's OP, and it looks like SK are on the same page. We'll see what Wunder decides to do here. Could pick Ornn, could pick a top laner, could pick something here, could pick Wukong, Senna.
Oh yeah, you could just go Wukong, Senna.
Corki.
Instead, you go for Corki, okay. Corki, Wukong. Wukong makes sense. I'll give you the Wukong. The Corki obviously gives you scaling. Humanoid struggled yesterday on the LeBlanc to have too much of an impact, so Corki gives you a bit more power. As the game goes on.
Yeah, also just thinking about it, playing Senna into GP just sounds really annoying in teamfights. So I think leaving AD a little bit and then making them pick Ezreal here. You can pick Kaisa. If they pick Senna, you can drop AD maybe, play something later on like Xayah. I don't know, something that can do a little bit better into the GP perhaps. There's the Ezreal. So that opens up Kaisa for upset on 3. Will it be Ezreal Yuumi is the question? Or will they match mid here with something like Azir?
Yeah, could just look for that classic matchup. It reminds me of Professional McGonagall, you know. When something happens, why is it always you 3? And it's just Corki Azir Rise.
Corki. Oh yeah, true.
Yeah, usually is Rise. Right? Whenever we get to Worlds.
Yeah, I was thinking of like Corki, Yuumi, Ornn.
I mean, at the moment, that seems to be the holy trifecta of League of Legends here in Europe.
Definitely does. But Volibear picked up. I know the crowd's going to be happy about that one. Kayle might be the pick here for Wunder into the GP.
Okay.
So now the question is, will we see AP Kayle or will we see AD Kayle? We'll see what Wunder builds. Of course, when I saw the Shy play Kayle in the LPL, the first person in Europe who came to mind was Wunder, who would play Kayle himself. Obviously, a lot of history between those two, and sometimes comes into my chat and pops in saying the Shy is just so good, PTSD every time he does a good play. So probably been following his champion pool. The only worry here for both these for Fnatic now is just AD carry. If SK ban away things like the Kaisa, what does Upset have up his sleeve?
Senna still obviously available. As you say, difficult to play into a Volibear and into a Gangplank, but does give you strong scaling as the game goes on. The Kayle provides a little bit of protection to it as well with that divine intervention. Kaisa removed, as we kind of expected. Kaisa into Ezreal, it's just so good. You follow him whenever he tries to get out of a fight and have a huge amount of upfront damage with that plasma.
Definitely does. Fnatic another ban here. Could ban another support. No, they're going to go take away the Ahri. So I think SK could look something like the Azir or Orianna, some control mage that does well into the Corki. TF could be an option as well if you want to play for sides, but GP Ezreal not the greatest sides to play for, but naturally good into things like the Wukong because it reveals him and of course makes the life easier when it comes to teamfights. Zillion taken away from Hylissang. I wonder if Braum is going to be a point of contention here, but Rakan is open. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So Rakan is going to get picked by Fnatic here. So SK...
Hades Rakan as well.
Yeah, Hades Rakan. SK, I think Karma Ezreal is probably their best bet right now.
Down towards the bottom side, gives you Prio. You can, of course, roam around as well. It looks like it might be the Braum for Treatz. Gives you a bit of protection, some disengage as well, but alongside the Ezreal isn't the best bot lane combination. It doesn't give you too much pressure. Leona, though, would give you a little bit more kill threat, and it seems that's where Treatz is going to go.
Yeah, Rakan really good into Braum, so your account's picking yourself there. Ezreal Braum can do good at kitebacks, but they're gonna... I think you've opened up a Xayah here, last pick for Fnatic. We'll see if Upset decides to go for it. Viktor wouldn't surprise me. I mean, just make your team fight's so good because, of course, you have Leona ult, GP ult, Viktor ult. There's a lot of things that Upset and Humanoid will have to be careful for. A lot of damage around AoE fields and neutral objectives. Orianna could work as well. Azir, any kind of control mage fits into this comp pretty well. And that's what Sertuss is going to go for. Now the question is, what does Upset pick on AD? Oh, Vayne would be very risky.
It's going to be Xayah, man. It's going to be Xayah. You called it out. It gives you the Featherstorm to escape from the Leona ultimate. It gives you zone control with the feathers as well. And if you ever do get caught, you've always got Kayle as a backup. There's no way it's Vayne. Hilly, stop trolling us, man.
Surely it's not a Vayne. Tristana also works really well, actually.
Yeah.
A little bit more mobile than Xayah. A lot more kill pressure perhaps in lane if Ezreal steps up too far, because Ezreal can play pretty well into Xayah. Like, you can play at range, and you can obviously EOA, and you can play pretty safe into Xayah, but Tristana's a little bit more difficult. So, Fnatic, a lot of team fight. Really good side lane if the Kayle is ahead. Not so much front line as maybe you would want with a Corki Tristana comp, but the Kayle will make up for it in damage. We'll see what Wunder builds towards. We've seen Crown on Kayle from the Shy, so can't take the brunt of the damage. But on the side of SK, again, incredibly good team fight. Lots of zone control, early game in the Volibear, and then the GP, if he's ahead of Kayle, can kind of control those side lanes. Package, definitely something to keep our eye on.
Yeah.
And then just whichever team can find the right angle. You've got Rakan on one side, Volibear, Leona on the other.
Feels like we're definitely going to get a game that goes towards teamfights. Of course, the Fnatic bot lane does have some kill threat, does have some pressure in the early game, but the safety of Ezreal and the tankiness of Leona does make it quite hard for them to really shut down SK's bot lane. And Fnatic struggled yesterday against XL in that bot lane 2v2. Lost out the level 1, constantly losing out even with jungle intervention as well. I think a game here where they re-bolster the pressure that they usually have could really help them and boost their confidence coming into the rest of the split.
Definitely could. Definitely could. I'm not sure what Razork has to play for in the game, but it's Fnatic, so probably bot lane is where they're going to go towards.
Where you go.
And it has an Ezreal Leona in it. Maybe they can catch out Treatz.
Can always look for it. SK versus Fnatic up next. Few Fnatic faithful, it seems, in the audience, as Hylissang is going to step forward here. Ooh,
You know
doesn't go for anything.
The real Chad move on Rakan is you just W over the Drake pit and ward their red and walk away.
Yeah, I think it's less Chad when they're all waiting for you there, or is it even
That's
more
what makes
Chad?
it Chad.
Okay, yeah, that makes
Because
sense.
then they chase you and you have no W. And they don't have that much gap goes either unless Treatz would flash forwards. But anyway, that's what happened. Just looking for someone there, Hilly. The stack won't pay off, but there is a ward on that Tribush, so they know Hilly is around there. Upset playing with the Halo Blades. Of course, lots of kill pressure in that bot side of the map.
Humanoid going for first strike here on the Corki. Does have a bit of a range advantage into the Viktor as the game goes on. Obviously, early laning can be a bit of a struggle for the Corki. Expect to be pushed in. Viktor with the Death Ray and with the Siphon Power means that he can kind of shield himself and walk towards you as you try and put damage down onto him. But the shield obviously mitigates any of that damage that you might be able to enact. And you can see Humanoid realizing that, has gone for the Dorman Shield himself.
So, Gilius starting on the red. Razork starting on the red. We got a kind of split map, cross map kind of thing going on where Gilius will go top side, Razork will go bot side, trade off of crabs, both will base, and maybe there won't be too much action unless lanes trade quite aggressively. I think Wunder might be the one who's going to struggle in the early game. GP is so oppressive early stages with the Grasp Q procs, and we'll see how that pans out with the Corrupting Pot. Doran Shield there to try to help him out.
Interesting decision by Razork to go single pot control ward here on his first start. Obviously, jungle these days, if you kite properly, it's pretty easily tankable. You can do it on most champions, but going for that control ward early means that he has just a little bit of extra awareness of where Gilius may be, especially if that split map did happen and Gilius went in and tried and stole his blue away. It would have given him a bit more vision.
Yeah, and look where he's placed it. He's placed it on the brush closest to his side of the map. He didn't put it in the middle brush because then if Gilius runs through it, it's very highly likely he'll just take it. And you want to make sure that pink ward that you invested in early just stays for as long as possible. So just put it on your side of the map. Still gives a little bit of vision in that bot side river. And of course, Wukong won't get low enough in the clear that he needs a refillable. So just needs that one health pot to his top side camps, and we'll go towards the bot side. Ward, so Humanoid here, maybe this is something Fnatic were trying to keep track of because Humanoid was dying to a lot of ganks up against, I believe it was the Vi of Malrank, I think it was off the top of my head. He was dying to ganks unnecessarily at times, and it just came from early mid ganks. And now he's got the bot side river entrance warded off, his own entrance warded off. So at this point with Corki W as well, you should not really die to any ganks Gilius actually skipping a lot of his camps here to look for some kind of top dive. He's wasting a lot of time on this top side of the map if they don't get this kill.
So Wunder knows that this is happening. He knows Gilius is on this side of the map. Thunder and Blow coming out. Wunder's going to try and flash away the barrels chained in. The parlay going forward as well, and the trial by fire.
Wow.
The final order will be enough. Good tanking there by Gilius. Good play there by SK.
And the amount of damage they had just seals the deal, doesn't it? Wunder was not even close to half HP. He was 70-80%, had a potion as well. I think he probably used it during that exchange. Fleet flashed away. Doesn't matter. Gilius doesn't even have to use his own flash. Pretty clean and simple, easy dive there from Gilius. Gets Gen X ahead. Will be able to save his TP if he wants to. And now he'll go back to his camps. Razork spotted out on the bot side of the map.
And it shows the best laid plans. You know, placing a control ward down towards the bottom side, placing a ward towards your Razorbeak entrance can still go awry. And Wunder here really didn't do too much wrong. You know, he's underneath this tower at level 2. Maybe he could have backed away, but you give up 2 waves if you do that.
Maybe he could try for a level up. I think that's what he did. He did get the level up, and then he took W and healed himself. Still not enough at all. Volibear PTA does so much damage level 3, and then the GP, not even tanking, can get his damage off as well. So Gilius will be a little bit further behind on the clear. You can see Razork's already base and picked up the 2 longswords. He'll be coming out of base to his second respawn. Gilius needs to get that base off soon, and as I said, I think Sertuss might go back to base 2.
Yeah, but Gen X already has a sheen towards this top side. Like, he can just parlay. Has the grasp as well if he takes any detrimental trades. You can see Razork now working his way up towards this top side, being like, I need to help my top laner. I need to try and find a way to make it easier for him to lane, because he has no flash, no TP, and with the wave, it looks like it's going to be relatively even right now. Actually might push towards Wunder. Razork is now going to try and at least get a summoner out of Gen X.
The beauty here is Gen X still has flash after that dive and Wunder doesn't. And then the Kayle is really weak early, of course, and trying to gank the Kayle lane is basically like you have to solo kill the enemy top laner as the jungler. So Razork's just going to back off and say there's nothing to be done there. He placed a pink in the river, so that'll help out Wunder a little bit. Humanoid yet to TP back. Did get a base off though, because he has a tier. Dragon still up. We'll see if Gilius wants to start that one up now. He's hovering on the bot side river with Treatz by his side.
Could go for that Dragon. Volibear very tanky in the early game. They are going to start it up. Army Cinder there. They were both spotted on this Scuttle Crab. It looks like actually a few pings coming out. Maybe I'm thinking Upset could work his way up here, but with Jezu here as well, should be a pretty easy secure for SK. Hylissang working his way towards the mid lane. He'll be spotted on a ward as well, so Sertuss knows to back away, and that's the first dragon in the game. Only 5 minutes in for SK, already stacking those up.
It looks like Humanoid's called Hylissang to come towards mid so he can push this wave in, but Sertuss has a little bit of pushback going on. I wonder if did he just demat the creep as well? I think he did. He wants to stop Humanoid from crashing it. In the end, Humanoid will get all the creeps, and that'll make it so he's just going to base and TP back. Sertuss didn't have access to the ultimate to try and find any kill pressure there. Hilly just helping his mid laner out now back to bot, so a little bit of bot push going in favor of Fnatic makes it so it can bleed into other lanes.
And the bot push is expected. Tristana plays waves relatively quickly. Ezreal does not. You know, he can only really use his Mystic Shot, doesn't have any of that AoE, but with Hylissang just using the W, there's the Zenith Blade forward. Upset's now used the dash as well. Gilius can go in. Cannon Barrage has been used. Upset's going to flash away, still has the cleanse here, and will use it immediately to get away from this. Will escape underneath the tower, re-engage onto Treatz, will flash into this bush
here.
He dead? Explosive shot.
Dead.
He is dead. Upset gets the reset, and now Gilius in for a world of hurt because Razork joins the fight. Jezu trying to turn it back around onto Hylissang, who does still have the flash himself.
Nice little movement there at the end by Hylissang, dodging out on Jezu's Q, and yeah, the 2v3 was turning in their favor. Razork arrives just in time. Gilius was over-forcing that play a little bit. The GP ult, great, you get Upset's flash, but then flashing to stun when he has cleanse basically achieves nothing, so Upset can walk away pretty happily. Hylissang's also quite mobile, so this bot lane of Fnatic that they've drafted, so much mobility to escape ganks.
You saw how they just layered it on top of each other here. It's because Upset goes for this bit of a jump onto Treatz. They think maybe we have an opportunity to go in. He's no longer got that W, and they look to make the play happen as Treatz Zenith Blades to get the jump out of Upset.
Yeah, good buffer by Upset to make sure he can't get stunned before he jumps away. There's a GP ult, so Upset flashes it to get out of range of it as quickly as possible, cleanses away from the stun, and then this is where Treatz goes a little bit too deep, you have to imagine, because Hylissang punishes him in a 2v3, instantly get the kill. Razork's not needed, but Razork's just there for backup. Jump forwards. Maybe could have jumped on Jezu to get his flash, but Gilius no flash. You think there's kill pressure there, but the exhaust is still up, so they couldn't get it. And then it just ends up in a 1-4-0 for Fnatic. That'll help Upset out so much on this Tristana. But no summoners. Has to be a little bit careful.
Obviously, Tristana relatively safe. You can buffer the jump out of CC. That's what we saw there. What you mentioned. The Zenith Blade came in, and if you press W before you are rooted, you get out. Makes it pretty easy for him to escape. Gen X here has a wave pushing into him. Should play this relatively safely. Doesn't need to use that barrel to clear out the wave. Instead, just use it for movement speed. Razork, though, does have the Cyclone and flashed away by Gen X, respecting the Fnatic jungler.
Unlucky timing there for Razork, because as he went for the gank, Gen X shot his barrel, so he got a bonus move speed buff. So by the time Razork was running at him in stealth, Gen X was already running away with the boost speed, of course. Now he's going to start up the Herald. Maybe he thinks that they win the 2v2 top jungle. The problem is Treatz has roamed up and he's ran through a ward, so I wonder if Razork's saying, let's cancel this Herald start, because otherwise you're just leashing it. Maybe he can sneak it away on the top side pink, but yeah, there's nothing to do here. He just has to give it up. We'll see what Hylissang does. If Hylissang runs back towards the top side, maybe they want to go for a 4v4. He is going to do it. So there might be a fight around this Herald. Gilius looks for Razork, only gets the clone though. So Razork's forced away, a little bit of chunk damage, healed up.
Wow, Stormbringer going in as well. Razork very low. Cyclone has been used. Razork just forced away 150 HP on him.
Oh, Ezreal won't hit. It's going to be way too wide, but they're going to get the Herald now, SK. So Razork loses out really heavily on that play. Starts it up himself, and he's just forced out after using his ult.
And for the moment, SK able to get back on the board with this Rift Herald. We'll see what they can get out of it. Obviously, Rift Herald, very important. Ooh, okay. For a second there, with there being no smite on Gilius, Hylissang had an opportunity to steal it. Rift Herald always is potential gold. It's not actualized on the map as of yet. I think a plate went down to upset down towards the bottom lane because of all this movement, so he's almost got 2, which means SK will want to get at least 2 plates out of this. Thankfully, they haven't lost the golden XP that often you do when you move your AD carry away. They'll lose 1 wave of that. Not the end of the world for Jezu.
Definitely isn't. I think they're just going to run down here and pop the Herald as well, just get the full tower, so Upset can get all the gold funneled into him, get quickly to that mythic item.
Fnatic will struggle to do that as they don't have the Herald. It went over to SK, of course, so...
Bit of a brain fart there, SK have it. So maybe they can repay Jezu with the gold that he's lost to his own plates.
Hylissang jumping forward, does now have the level 6, takes the tower shot and can just dash back to Upset. Hylissang doing that is really just indicative of, we want to reset, let's try and force Jezu away from the lane and get ourselves an opportunity to back here.
Yeah, I think they're trying to base here before the dragon spawns. As I say that, they're going to cancel the base. Maybe they're trying to bait SK into pushing the next wave, but little did they know that they're standing on top of a wall, so Treatz can play with their information and try to bait this 2v2 out. But then the 1-up of Razork being on a pink as well, so Upset's just going to show anyway and clear out this wave. Gilius is spotted on the bot side. As I say that, Hilly was...
Hylissang looking for it, still gets the charm, but Jezu quick to react. Hylissang now in the midst of the cannon barrage, True Shot barrage being used as well. Gilius on his way, no Stormbringer for him. Razork, of course, does still have the flash, cleanses away from the exhaust, jumps over the solar flare. Upset will escape.
Upset a little bit greedy for the cannon there on the exit. I think he got it, had to burn his cleanse though. And Hilly was on a ward, but he didn't know it. I think he popped the ult expecting Jezu to walk up for one of the creeps that was low HP and then just instantly flash combo on him before he can react. But of course he can react when he's on vision. That's going to be second dragon over to SK. Razork is around again on the same side of the map that an objective is falling, but he can't fight it. Humanoid has package, but they're at such a numbers disadvantage. They can't really go for this.
And Gilius doesn't have Stormbringer, will have to flash here. Humanoid might look for the chase, goes in.
Okay.
Gilius still no Stormbringer. Humanoid still has the Valkyrie to get away. Just some damage down onto the SK jungle.
Yeah, a lot of damage as well. Has first strike, so a little bit of gold too. Quite an alpha play there. Just uses it straight on top of the Volibear. Takes a lot of Gilius' HP. We'll see if Razork finds Sertuss here. The E will give vision. Yeah, smart play there, but he's still walking in.
Razork does have the Cyclone, but Sertuss can just put down the gravity field. This does mean that Humanoid has a bit more time to auto-attack that tower. Should get him 2 plates. And Fnatic about, 600 gold in the lead. 300 gold, that's the maths, in the lead. A 700 gold lead for Humanoid in the mid lane.
It's been a long weekend.
It has been a long weekend, man. I wanted to quickly talk about Kayle a little bit. It has been a while since we last saw her here in the LEC Summer Playoffs 2020 when Wunder played it for G2. He went 2-7-4. Lost that game, unsurprisingly.
It was the meta when Kayle was the counterpick to Ornn.
Yeah.
Back in the days.
And it's still the meta now, once again. Kayle the counterpick to Ornn. Anyone that doesn't really understand what Kayle does, because it has been a while since we've seen her, basically, for the first 6 levels of the game, she is almost as bad as a melee minion, probably around that level. After she hits level 6, her passive gives her ranged auto attacks. Those then upgrade to stronger ranged auto attacks when she hits level 11 and gives her sort of an AoE on them. A little bit like Ravenous Hydra AoE, but not quite. And then at level 16, she becomes even stronger and gets bonus attack range. So what you see often is the early game, Kayle, very susceptible to ganks. We saw it in this game. And then as she slowly scales up and as she gets towards level 16, she becomes stronger and stronger. Yeah,
and if you're at home enjoying the stream, you might see a little chat box flying on the right with a number and a kind of clock next to it with a scared face. 9 out of 16, because when she hits level 16, that's when she's going to be the strongest. So we'll keep our eye on that. Razork might be called here. Jumps onto Treatz.
Now he can flash away here. Presses S, trying to bait them out. This clone will allow him to escape. Rift Herald used here in the mid lane as they're looking to try and force Humanoid out, but Gilius no longer has the Thundering Roar, can no longer charge forward, so Just clear out the minion. This Rift Tower will charge in, but remember, towers have bulwark, so the more plates fall, the tankier they become, which means Sertuss will just be here trying to get a little bit of extra damage. That tower will not fall as of yet.
Yeah, it looks like the Herald was actually timing out there, so just may as well use it mid, get the Viktor a little bit of gold. Still down a lot of gold though, surprisingly. If you check it out against Humanoid's Corki, almost 1,000 gold down. Upset trying to get this bot tier 1. Treatz and Hilly having a little bit of supportal combat. Razork's around. It's a 3v3 on the bot side of the map. Wunder has TP up, but can't TP towards creeps until next 30 seconds. Wants to get towards that Nashor's Tooth before he joins any fight.
So with the game being 1-1 and 13.5 minutes, SK slightly behind in gold, but only about 200-300 with 2 dragons. It looks like Fnatic are trying to make something happen down towards this bottom lane. Gilius is here to defend, but that tower is 2 hits away from dead. Upset puts the explosive charge down onto it, and SK will realize their tower is forfeit. Fnatic get their second of the game. But what I wanted to lead into is, like, if you were these teams, how would you feel this game was going for you? Would you be happy on either side?
I think as SK, I'd be a little bit unhappy with what's going on in bot because they blind picked the Rakan and then we're playing a Leona lane into a lane where maybe we could have a little bit more push. Of course, Gilius kind of, with that play towards bot when he flashed onto Upset, gave them a kill and made it so bot lane was kind of not lost from that point, but extremely hard. The global hasn't been used as much as maybe they would like, but they lost their bot tier 1. It sucks, you just have to move on from it. I mean, Jezu is pretty strong. He's got his Essence Reaver now.
That's fine. Well, it's not fine!
What the?
Oh, that's quintessential Hilly, though, isn't it?
Oh my god! What the hell just happened, Hilly? Hilly, man!
Alright, so when there's double globals on the enemy team, perhaps don't tank 3 tower shots as Rakan.
Giga Chat.
Is that Giga Chat? Is that Giga Chat?
No, I missed Hylissang. Imagine you're Humanoid, you're running to your lane, you see Hilly W your wave, tank 3 tower shots, you're like...
It's like, fine, okay, he's still alive. True Shot Barrage comes in,
okay, flashes
okay,
it.
5 minutes, that's fine.
Yeah, and then he dies anyway, and it's like... yeah, let's give this Herald, I guess.
They might not give it, we'll see.
Today's been wild.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a weird one at times. Obviously, so what Hylissang is trying to do there is catch the wave, delay it, so you can get mid lane shove, so you can move to the Herald quicker with your team. What he didn't need to do was tank 3 tower shots, burn his flash, and then die afterwards. So
yeah,
yeah.
If you don't watch the LEC often, that's Hylissang. That's an introduction to what he does sometimes, and sometimes he does incredible plays. So we'll see what he does on this next Dragon fight, because he still has ultimate. Genax has no bot tier 1 to run towards. Razork's collapsing. Gilius saw them, so he's trying to buy his top laner time. Dragon spawns in 3 seconds. Would put SK on soul point. Wunder has hit level 11, and I believe, yeah, he does have his Nashor's Tooth, but he's a little bit split from the rest of his team. Genax doesn't have the Cannon Barrage, and with the recall coming in from Humanoid, you have to wonder, are they giving this?
Looks like it
Would
might
put
be.
them on soul
good
point.
Solar Flare as well to stop the recall from Humanoid. Dragon started now by SK. Solar Flare down though, so Fnatic might look to take the fight. Good stun onto Razork. The Dragon low. Razork gets it. Razork will pay for it with his life, as will Hylissang. Upset diving in with the Divine Intervention. The Divine Intervention could only save you for so long. Double flash. Ripped to pieces by Gilius. Fnatic get the Dragon, but at what cost?
A little bit indecisive there from Fnatic. It looked like the call was, let's let Humanoid base buy whatever item he has, because he must be sitting on a lot of gold, then TP back in. But the second it gets cancelled, they can't afford to wait any longer. They all go in, but they dive on top of 4 members of SK. So much damage with the Viktor ult. And here it looked like Upset could make a miracle play with the Kayle ult on top of him. Could do a lot of damage with the explosive as well on his E. But yeah, he tries to flash away, gets chased. And I mean, Wunder really couldn't find his way into the fights. And Humanoid probably sitting on a lot of gold. I mean, he has got the mana immune in a lost chapter, but with 203 creeps, yeah, 1.2k gold, maybe he wants to base and buy something before the fight kicked off.
He did have the TP to get back into the fight. Maybe they thought they could delay for long enough, and then when the Solar Flare was down, they're like, okay, that's a big ultimate. We have to fight now. Didn't work for Fnatic. They are still relatively even in gold, though, and they did stop the Dragon from going over to SK.
That's basically it, right? The good news is they've stalled the Dragon. The bad news is you've given gold across, and with this Herald falling, you expect it to go towards mid, and then they should be able to get that mid tier 1 as well. So SK still yet to pick up their first tower of the game. Humanoid has package in base, but he did not pick it up, so I expect that they're waiting for another team fight around the next Dragon perhaps, or when they're sieging on their mid turret.
That's the thing, you have a minute to use it after you pick it up, and it spawns on 6-minute cycles. So if you picked it up now, you'd have to use it in the next minute, and it wouldn't be up for the next Dragon. And it seems like that's what Fnatic are likely to want to fight around. Obviously, they can still try and force team fights, they can still try and look for things, but right now, seem to be willing just to try and scale up. Wunder already at the Nashor's Tooth, 12 out of 16 in terms of levels, working his way up towards that devilishly difficult to deal with Kayle.
So SK have the Herald once again, and they have many options as to where to place it. Looks like it's just going to be dropped mid here by the positioning of Gilius. And then you expect them to move into bot maybe and get this bot tier 1. Gen X has a wave, but looks like by the positioning of Sertuss, they're going to give up top. I mean, they can use the Cannon Barrage top as well to slow down the waves. And I mean, I feel like if you're ahead like this and you have a Herald, you should be playing on 2 lanes. Gen X maybe should not have moved towards mid. Gilius could have ran straight towards bot because you're giving up this top tier 1 anyway. But maybe they can play for 2 towers mid. There's pings there, but Gilius is looking for Wunder.
The wave timing wasn't the best for SK in the mid lane. They had to clear out a minion wave that was coming to them, and they didn't have extra minions to push forward with. So it will get another charge. And because Gilius worked his way down towards the bottom side, Wunder had to back away, knowing his team was on a reset. This will give time for Gen X to take this tower alongside that cannon minion. So SK will get 2 towers out of the players. Jezu's caught out just a little bit, flashes and dashes to safety.
Didn't have the E. I think he probably just E'd over to the wall to recall, try to get as much distance away as possible. But now that opens up a mid-tier 1 for Fnatic, they're going to take that. So we'll answer back and keep the turret lead, keep the gold lead, and try to pressure on into SK's jungle. But SK definitely putting up a hell of a fight here. Stuck with the same roster going into Summer. Very competitive in this first week against Fnatic. Razork gets the red buff away from Gilius, deep vision from Hilly, and they're all going to back away.
Hex gates are so much fun, man. Like, just seeing these orbs fly across the map. It's like a Pokemon,
you can be very, very creative with them, can't you? But at times, sometimes, you know, you use them and then you look where you're landing and you're like, oh, damn.
Yeah.
Then you're just TPing into 4 people.
We needed that Hex gate sucked line from Kobe at some point.
That Hex gate sucked. It's quite a long, it's a lot of syllables.
It is quite long, yeah. Which is one of the problems. That gate, no, TP is just better, isn't it?
Yeah.
That TP sucks. You know what they should introduce at some point?
Okay, we're like game designers on this desk, aren't we?
You know how alcoves exist, and they're sometimes you see something happen with an alcove, but a lot of the time they're just there.
They are just there.
Hex gates in the alcoves.
Where would they go to? Across
the other
alcoves?
lane.
Oh, okay.
So you know how top lane's irrelevant.
Misfits, yeah.
It makes it not irrelevant anymore. It's like, you guys want to invest everything into bot, we can invest everything into top. And then you meet, like you can
and it has like a 2 minutes cooldown on it.
Yeah.
So you can like have your bot lane pushing the wave and then hex gate top and gank the enemy top laner. Something.
And then you decide whether they hex gate towards you or whether they stay down towards the bottom side, you know?
And maybe you could cancel it mid-air as well, so your mid laner can like play dodgeball and throw a skill shot.
This is just ult now.
And hit them.
Just
and stop them.
Oh,
and then it lands where they get hit.
You can attack them.
Yeah. So you can hit them as they're portaling across.
That could be cool.
That could be cool. See, this is what would happen if we had access to the...
Trademark medication. If you guys use that, we're expecting royalties. Just saying.
And then you can get skins for the Hex Gates, different colors. You could be like a rainbow or something as you're going across the rift.
I think the visual clarity of League can't handle that sort of change.
Would be cool, though.
It would be cool. Dragon's going to spawn here, though. And it looks like SK are giving it
Maybe they can go Baron, it looks like. They have good positioning towards it. Top wave's pushed in. Problem is, Humanoid has package, so he's going to look around. There's a ward in the Baron pit as well, so they should know exactly what's going on. But I think the ping cord stops it, so Humanoid needs to get some information here. He sees Gilius.
Treatz tried to sneak behind him as well. As you say, Humanoid does still have that package. Can try and dash away from this one. Hylissang here to join the party. Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, Wunder continues to push in. Package forward. There's the quickness as well. Looking for Sertuss, looking for Jezu, who doesn't have the flash. Jezu, though, able to escape across the wall. Explosive charge in the missile. Will find Ismark. Wunder TP's in as Fnatic find a fight.
Yeah, Humanoid playing with so much confidence. He knows his team's on the bot side of the map, but he has Hylissang behind him. And just as you said, Medic Jezu, no flash. It's timed. Hilly was probably screaming at Humanoid there. Ezreal, no flash. They split up. Leona and Gilius went towards the top side, and Jezu went on his own next to Sertuss. So instantly collapsed. Sertuss loses his flash. Now TP back from Humanoid. 4v5 for SK. Gilius has flash.
Solar flare.
If he wants to get in the pits. Oh, Razork.
Looking for the flash onto Gen X, who will flash away himself. Treatz pots down the solar flare, and Sertuss dies where he comes in. That TP definitely sucked. Upset here is going to be able to chase Gen X away, and Fnatic can turn back towards the Baron. Gilius does still have the flash smite, as you say. Jezu now has True Shot Barrage and the Hex Gates to get back in, but that Baron's already down to 8,000. Gilius trying to get in behind here. Hylissang still has flash, so there's upset. They've still got the Divine Intervention. True Shot Barrage.
Oh, the jungler's down.
The jungler is down. Fnatic stay on it. Gilius not going to be able to get in time. Hylissang keeping them away. Humanoid's going to be able to get the Baron, but will he get out? He manages to survive. The Divine Intervention's enough. Fnatic without a jungler still secured the Baron and 2 kills.
Oh, Jezu, he didn't think he could kill Humanoid and get 1 buff off at least, but Wunder comes in with the ultimate. I think he missed his Q as well, and if Gilius could just get in range and maybe he could steal it, but he was zoned away. Gen X actually ran away, did caught mid-wave and then went to his own Raptors as this was all happening, so they didn't actually have that extra member that could have changed the entirety of the game, perhaps. That TP, yeah, it did suck.
Yep.
Landed on top of everyone on Fnatic, instantly died before you blink, and yeah, that just gives them the numbers advantage to start off the Baron. And then the Ezreal snipe from Jezu makes it so Razork dies. So then there's this awkward situation where Jezu's thinking he can contest his Baron. Gilius is zoned away by Upset. Jenax runs towards his team, but then thinks, you know what, I think I'm going to be zoned away from Upset as well the second he gets a reset. And then Jezu misses that Q just there, and regardless, Wunder ults him.
Yeah, Fnatic realizing they can stick on the Baron. Upset and Hylissang doing their best bodyguard impression as they kept Gilius away from the pit. Now 3,000 gold to the good, 2 minutes on the Baron buff. Fnatic going to try and play across 2 lanes. You can see Wunder level 15. Jenax very strong in terms of total gold, but hasn't really been able to have as much impact in some of these fights as he would like. Obviously with Gangplank, it's a lot about the barrel setup, it's a lot about the cannon barrage. You have to place it perfectly. SK, 5 members, you could chuck a leaf over them, how close they are, while Wunder continues to push towards the bottom side. Razork dashes away with the decoy. Fnatic very willing just to continue to pull SK around the map.
SK have a lot of good wave clear though. GP and Viktor, pretty damn good wave clear, so I don't think any inhibitors will fall unless a fight kicks off. The problem is Wunder is very close to that level 16, so he should start winning out on this side and pretty hard. Despite the more on Jenax, Treatz wants to find an engage.
Razork goes in with the Cyclone as well. Solar Flare onto Humanoid, only gets the slow. Razork able to get away. Meanwhile, Upset and Hylissang pushing in the mid lane will take that tier 2, and it looks like Fnatic got what they were looking for out of that brief skirmish.
Yeah, the way Fnatic's playing this map, their macro calls are pretty clear, right? Bot tier 2 into mid tier 2, maybe we can go top wave after base and then try to get that. But Dragon spawning in 1 minute 13 seconds, so I think they're going to try to pick that one up. Jenax is just going to clear away these bot waves, and like I said, Jenax, most gold in the game, extremely strong right now, just hasn't really found his way into fights just yet. It feels like Treatz was looking for an engage there on the Raptors, found Razork, but only his clone, and then he tried again, had to flash away the second time, as Razork was the first to go in. Upset catching that top wave makes me think that he was very close to Infinity Edge, and there it is, picked it up. And 1 minute till Dragon. I think everyone will start to go towards the Dragon Pit now. SK first there to get some vision down.
See them using the fact that Fnatic had to reset just to get out on the map a little bit quicker, get as many wards down as they can. Obviously, you can't go too deep into the enemy jungle, but you can lay a trap. The question is, will Fnatic fall for the bait? Jezu here by himself. Hylissang has flash quickness here. You could quickness. Jumps in, Humanoid looking for some damage as well. Jezu down to half HP already, and Fnatic actually just escorting the wave towards the mid lane. Jezu's going to try and reset, was ticking a little bit, so his recall is delayed.
Yeah, look at the levels on the carries right now. Fnatic, Humanoid 2 levels up, Upset 2 levels up.
Tower's gone.
The backline damage Fnatic have is relentless, and they have so much poke as well. Jezu can't even step up. Wunder stunned up.
On Wunder, there's the Chaos Storm as well. Divine Intervention going down. That's big though, because now the Stormbringer can follow up. Fnatic though already found 2. Jezu was not there for the fight, couldn't put down the DPS. Double charge from Hylissang, he dashes back. Cyclone in by Razork and Fnatic want to end this game right here, right now. Humanoid flashes in, gets the final order that he needed to kill off Sertuss. And as you say, that's it. Explosive charge will melt through the towers like a hot knife through butter. Only Jezu and Jenax survive, and Jezu does not do that any longer. Nor does Jenax, nor does the tower. And Fnatic pick up their second win of the weekend.
Well, the second that Baron went down, it was all Fnatic, wasn't it? Pretty clear game plan. Came out of base, just forced a fight, and yeah, SK couldn't really match it. The carries of Fnatic were way too far ahead. It felt like for the first 10 to 15 minutes, it was SK dictating the pace of the game. But ever since that Baron happened, it all went over to Fnatic. So much scaling as well. The kill getting towards level 16 at the end. Wunder was almost caught at the end as well, but popped his ult and took the brunt of SK's damage.
And that's the power of Kayle, right? You have lots of scaling, lots of damage, and then the Divine Intervention in case anyone gets caught out. You even saw them using it with Tristana jumping in, looking for those resets, and get a lot of damage down in these fights. Fnatic, their mid-game was very strong, very enjoyable to watch. Obviously, in spring, they talked a lot about how Humanoid dictated a lot of their mid-game. Although they fell off at the end of spring, especially towards playoffs, it looks like they have come back renewed for summer season.
And he looks so confident and comfortable on the Corki. Yeah. I mean, he was the one kind of setting the pace, making the plays for Fnatic. I mean, catching out Jezu to get that Baron start initially. So yeah, the second he has his package, he just gets Hylissang behind him, makes a call and goes in, and they punish the small things like the flash, for example.
Yeah, they definitely did. Key player of the game votes at LEC on Twitter. Wunder, Humanoid, and Upset are your options.
And of course, Hilly had his Hilly moment. Yeah. That was
a bit weird. That was a bit of an odd one there from Hylissang. You can see what was going through his mind, just very poorly enacted.
It was from the outside, it looked quite odd, didn't it? But regardless, it didn't really amount to much. Nothing really came of it. It was just a kill over to SK. And yeah, I think Humanoid definitely almost like the captain and the spear of Fnatic in that game on the Corki.
Yeah. And obviously using that package really well to get onto the back line. The quickness follow-up from Hylissang works very well. And SK, on the other hand, did have some moments, you know, the early game, dive on Genax, dive on Wunder, getting Genax ahead, really worked for them. They just couldn't really find purchase in terms of taking that and accelerating the lead in other places.
Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, you have to learn as a team, right? Early to mid-game transition, mid to late game transition.
Yeah.
You know, who takes the reins in the short call. Jungle is very easy to point out as the early game short caller, but then mid to late game for Fnatic, for example, Humanoid's the one who takes over from what we've heard, right? So you need to find where you feel comfortable, which players feel comfortable taking that role, and making sure their own individual performance is up to par while also trying to micromanage / kind of make plays and make plans for your team.
It'll be difficult. Of course, they have a long split to do it in. Next up, though, G2 versus Exile is going to be a barnstormer, I'm sure. But before that, we're going to hand it over to Laure, who's standing by with Wunder.
Thank you, Medic, and thank you, Wunder, for joining me after this game. Congrats on this first super week in the LEC. Quick question, how did you guys react to the Healy moment, as they said?
The Healy moment, I mean, I didn't really watch much of it. I only heard, careful, there's an Ezreal ult coming, and careful, they have GP ult. And then I see, of course, my GP get a kill, like as usual, right? I'm laning against GP, I'm like getting dove, and then he gets kills with random ults. No, but actually, I think Marek, Humanoid, said that, wow, that's really crazy or something, what you just did. And then they were just laughing. And yeah, I mean, we were pretty... I mean, a lot of things, of course, went wrong this game and all right, but we were really confident with the comp we had, and also just if we went late game, we could take the win, so we were just laughing.
Yeah, you had all the elements to do so, and again, classic Healy, win some, lose some. We're used to seeing him do stuff like this, but talking about the early game, as confident as you were that you could put it off in the later stages of the game, it took like a really good play around Baron to get back on track. Up until that, it was SK controlling the game. What could you have done better in the early game?
I mean, I think the way our draft is, of course, is like very hard to play, right? We give them Volibear, which is like a really strong jungler, and they get like, in theory, they could have gotten really strong lanes because, well, this is just the nature of our champs. They're very OP later on, maybe not as OP to you can get dove, or you're at least like susceptible to a lot of the plays they can make in the early game. And yeah, I mean, in hindsight, we should have probably covered the top dive that they did. And then besides that, I think we did like a poor play around Rift Herald where Wukong got chunked a lot, and then they kind of like just did what they were supposed to with their comp. But we were still like very confident in, I guess, everyone's abilities to play their champions later in the game and just take the win in the end.
Yeah. All right, well, in the end, a quick word about the top lane, because you played Kayle. First time we see the champion in the LEC. It's a picked champion in the LPL, sometimes in the LCK also. We don't see it so much in the LEC so far. What's your take on the champion and the priority it has in the LEC?
I mean, it's a really fun champ to play. I mean, of course, you are kind of like in some matchups, you kind of just have to farm it out and get like your level 6 first of all, when you become kind of strong after that point. I mean, after like the patch changes with the HP and like towers doing a bit more damage, it's a lot easier to play. And it also has like some matchups where you're not like forced to base really early, unless of course you get dove and you have to TP back. But in a 1v1 situation, a lot of times it can come out even or like a little bit behind, which is normally really good for Kayle. And I think, I mean, right now, like Kayle ult with a lot of champions in the meta is really OP. For example, like, I mean, I don't know, this game we had a Tristana jumping in, but it could be like a Twitch going crazy with a Kayle ult on him, or like Kai'Sa, which you see a lot in LPL as well, jumping in with Kayle ult. It's, yeah, just a really fun champ to play, and it's kind of like an OP AD carry later on in the game, so you also feel really strong.
Really good champion, and works well with the scaling we see lately in the game. Quick words about Humanoid. He got the Kia player of the game here. What did you think about his Corki and how he was able to annihilate SK in the later stages?
Part of the reason I felt so confident was every time I pressed tab, I saw like my mid laner flame horizon on enemy, and he was just farming everything, doing every camp, farming really well in this game. And yeah, I mean, Corki as a champ, I think, especially in week 1, it's very easy to, in a way, cheese wins, because it's so OP, you can do a lot on its own, and it has poke, and like it's really strong in fights with package. It can be kind of hard for like uncoordinated teams to play against, especially. And yeah, I mean, it's just a late game champ, right? So if SK in this case couldn't close out the game or snowball properly, it just takes over.
Corki meta, and I think we'll keep on seeing the champion. For now, Wunder, thank you so much for the interview. Congrats on the first Super Week. And as we take a break, you will be able to listen to the Warner Song of the Week on repeat by Robin Schulz and David Guetta on the official LEC Spotify playlist. And we'll have Upset join us at the Analyst desk after this. Stay tuned.